Let's learn how to use Woodubend moldings to cover up damage with this classic buffet. Here are the pieces we're going to use, and this is what I had to take off because of so much damage on this piece. The first thing to figure out is placement. Next is to gather all the supplies you'll need for this project. I love saving these boards that the Woodubends come with. This makes it easier so when I do start gluing, it gets on the board instead of on my floor. The board is also so helpful when heating up your Woodubend piece so that your fingers don't get burnt. Now we're going to get that piece just perfectly lined up and cut off that excess so it just fits super nice and flush. I like to do both pieces at the same time so that I can make sure that it's exactly the same on both sides. Just knocking off those rough edges. I'm going to come back and mold that a little bit more later, so I'm not so worried. Now let's add some glue. I always add a good amount of glue in the middle of the scroll work, and then I use my finger to brush it out to the edges. This will help with making sure that you don't get a lot of glue oozing out of the edges. Now I'm just going to heat that back up, pushing as I go to make sure it's fully secured to my piece of furniture. This is a super important step to make sure that you have a very strong bond, especially when part of your molding has a floating element. Now it's time to do some molding. I'm going to use my Surf Prep sander with a fine grit foam pad on it, rounding it off here and there so that it looks like the other carvings on the piece. See, it looks just like the other carvings. After it's painted, it's gonna look fabulous. Let's start heating up the next section that we're gonna put underneath the cabinet doors. Let's shave off a little bit on that top and sand it down so that it fits perfectly under that lip. Now I'm just working on the placement. Let's get some glue on this and brushing it out to the edges with my finger again. Now time to heat set it with the heat gun. Now this is the perfect time to get it perfectly lined up exactly the way you want it. If any glue starts seeping out from the edges, you can always come back with either a small paintbrush. I have a small little palette knife just to make sure that I'm not getting too much excess glue. Now it's time for the fun part, painting. I'm using Wise Owl Chalk Synthesis paint in Weathervane along with my favorite brush, the short-handled Klingon S50. I chose to use the chalk synthesis paint instead of the 1 hour enamel because I knew manipulating the paint around all of the cracks and crevices, I would need more open time to get it a perfect smooth finish. The chalk line also gives it more of a vintagey look instead of having a satin finish, and that is exactly what I wanted for this piece. These Klingon brushes can take a beating, so don't be afraid to get into all the little areas that you need to get paint. Just remember that last brush stroke needs to go in one direction for a smooth finish. I felt like the cabinet doors needed a little extra something, so I decided to pull out some more Woodubends. These corner pieces I think are going to be perfect to tie everything together. This is also going to camouflage a lot of the damage from the veneer that was on these cabinet doors. Now I just need to paint them, but I think it gives it a really nice balance to the piece. Another feature of the Woodubend moldings is that you can come back and distress just like it was part of the original piece of furniture. I love taking the time to fine sand over the chalk synthesis paint. This is going to give it a beautiful smooth finish. Now that we have the whole piece fine sanded down, we're going to go into the last step, sealing it with salve and bringing it back true to color. While sealing it, I'm also going to bring in the drama with some black wax around those moldings. Now, because I put the salve on as a base, I can come back in with my round 1.5 inch brush to just buff out that black wax and feather it into the rest of the piece. Here's a closer look. I like to use an artist brush to get the wax exactly where I want it to be, and then I can come back in with my salve brush and buff it in. Here she is, all sealed with the salve and the black wax. What do you think? Time to get this girl staged. This piece had been sitting in my garage for over a year. I'm so glad I finally tackled it and how it turned out. So what do you think? Leave a comment below. You can find all the products on our website at ignitefurnishings.co.com and the links in the descriptions. I want to hear from you. Please like, share, and comment, and subscribe for more fun tutorials. Thanks for watching.